Hello, welcome back to Mark's Garden UK at Rose Cottage near Nantwich in Cheshire. Today I'm going to be creating a wildflower and sunflower meadow on this big mound of earth here, so I'm going to call it a wildflower mound. These big rocks here, these big boulders, are going to be moved over there to my right. There's going to be a bog garden. This is the wildlife pond. All that soil there came out of that hole. I dug it by hand. I've got a wildlife log pile there, buddleia butterfly bushes at the back. There's a hibernaculum, lovely big dense hedge there for the birds to nest in and find shelter. And this job really couldn't be easier. Wildflower seeds and wildflowers in general don't need heavily enriched soil. And this is quite sandy. So it's going to be an easy job really. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rake it over. In between these poppies here, which I found in another area of the garden, I'm just going to hoe it to break up the soil surface. That's the objective really, is to break up the soil surface. Then I'm going to water the ground before I sow onto it, and the reason I'm watering the ground before I sow onto it is because of the slope. If I sow and then water, there's a risk that all the seeds will end up at the bottom of the hill. So I'm going to water, then rake, then sow, then gently water again, then leave it, and hopefully lots of the seeds will be up here and stay up here when they germinate. I did seed this with wildflowers last year, and you can see a few of them actually coming back down here to my left, but unfortunately I've buried the rest of them in this big pile of earth. I've also got 3 packets of sunflower seeds, and I divided the packets in 2. I've kept half the seeds for another little project. And at the top here, I'm going to sow sunflower seeds. We have a backdrop of medium height sunflowers, and those sunflowers will provide lovely colour and nectar for pollinators in the summertime, but also into the autumn and winter. They'll mature and the flowers will die back, but the seed heads will remain, and they'll provide bird food, and some will drop on the floor for rodents in the wintertime. So therefore we'll have a lovely rich, nectar-rich environment for wildlife. There'll be wildflowers of lots of different varieties, and I've bought 2 packets off the internet. Got both these packets for about £13, and it covers 100 square metres. I've used half of them already in a wildflower meadow below an apple tree which I created a couple of days ago. And so those are the wildflowers. So let's get on with the job. I'll give you a couple more tips, but the main thing about this project is, whilst it looks like a bare patch of earth now, which essentially it is, what I'll do is I'll do some time-lapse videos. So over the next few weeks and months ahead, we'll see this burst into lots of colour, and there'll be insects and there'll be butterflies, and I'll leave these, there's some planks up here at the top, I'll leave them in place so they can get access around the back where the budder is, and come in and video it and enjoy it and show you the video footage. Right, so I've already raked it. The next thing I'm going to do is just very gently hoe between these poppies, and put some poppies here. They're already growing, so they'll provide lovely red flowers when they grow up. I'm just breaking the earth surface, give it a bit of a hoe, also down either side of this plank, and then I will water. And as I say, the reason for watering at this stage is so that I don't wash the seeds away when I come to sow them. So I'll come back in a minute when this has been given a good soaking. So that's the earth nicely wetted. These are the 3 different types of sunflower I've got: Sunburst Mixed, Vanilla Ice and Little Leo. And you can buy them off Amazon, and I'll put the link below this video if you want to go ahead and buy some of those. And these are the 2 different types of wildflower. One's just a standard wildflower garden, and one's a complete pollinator garden. And as you can see there, both of those boxes cover 50 square metres. I've already used half that seed on another project below the apple tree. Now what I've done, and this is to help me see where I'm distributing it, and it bulks the mix out so that when you do broadcast it, it stops them from clumping. I've added a few handfuls of damp sand to the seed mix, and that makes it much more easier to spread. And because the sand is light, you can see when it lands on the wet ground where you've distributed it to. I have to say that in these boxes of seeds there was some kind of medium, which I think it says here mixture and spreading agent to ensure the seeds are evenly spread. So they've already done that for us there, but I've added a little bit of extra sand. And by doing that, I'll be able to see exactly where I've spread. And that's exactly what I'm going to do now. I'm going to spread them as evenly as possible over this wet earth. And it'll never be perfect, this, but the fact that you've got sand and this spreading medium mixed in makes it a lot easier to see. And I'm putting them at the back as well to give the border depth. And I will be raking this as well, so it will give them a little bit of an extra spread. This plank will stop them being spread on the earth where I'm going to be walking. Those are the poppies I've already put in. Those are free plants because they self-seeded themselves in my parterre at the front of the garden. And I'm going all up and down this mound here. The nice thing about this 45-degree slope is from down here, when you look at it, you get a lovely view of all the flowers that are coming up. And trust me, this will be absolutely full of wildflowers this year. I can't wait to share it with you. Of course, if you want to see it, you have to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'm not being too precious about this because I'm about to rake it. Let's go all the way down to the bottom. Slowly but surely, that some seed mix is being spread quite evenly over that ground. And my next job, of course, will be to rake it in. Just come around and do a bit more at the top. An empty trug that did have a lot of seeds in. Let's get it raked. I'm quite keen to rake it quickly because there's a bit of a breeze today, and if I don't rake it, I might get carried away on the breeze. And we don't want that. We want to preserve them for our own enjoyment, so I'm just gently raking them in. This is stopping them from blowing away, and it's also giving them a covering of sand soil. Very poor soil, this, very sandy, not much nutrition in it at all. I'll just discard them down there, and in it goes, lovely. I'll just go in between these poppies with the corner of the rake just to get it covered up. And then I'll also go down the bottom of the slope and rake the rest of them from here. And you can see already that the seed mixture is disappearing under a layer of tilth, and that will give them enough covering to germinate. They're quite tough, these wildflowers. They don't need a lot of love and attention, but the good they do in the garden in terms of providing nectar and helping pollinators. Of course, we'd all be sunk without pollinators because all our crops, food crops, require pollinators, so they're an essential part of the ecology. There we go. Whilst I've been waffling, and I have been waffling, I've covered up the seeds, and you can see they're nearly all buried. I'm going to put some sunflowers in now. And the idea here is to spread half of each of these packets of sunflowers here. I've divided them up in the kitchen out of the wind, because obviously if you start playing around with the seeds in the wind, they'll just blow away. So here I've got a little bowl with approximately 100 seeds in. I'm going to give these a little bit of a burying, so I will take them out with my hands, which I can, a little bit clumsy using the gloves. So there's a seed, I'll put it on the soil and I'll push it down with my finger and cover it, and that way I know it's properly buried. And I should go ahead now and distribute these in 2 rough lines along the back of the plank and along the front of the plank, and they will provide a bit of a backdrop for this wildflower meadow. Might take me a little bit of time, this, because there's about 100 of them, so I'll come back to you in a second when the job's done. And there we are. It couldn't be much easier really, could it? Bare earth, shake your seeds, rake them over, give them a watering, put push your sunflower seeds down a couple of centimetres, bury them over, and the real joy from this half hour's work will be over the next few months when we observe this bed burst into life, and I'll share that with you. And if you want to buy those seeds, of course, there's a link to them in the description box below this video. I do get some commission, I have to say that to you. I've got to be transparent on YouTube. But that little commission I get doesn't affect the price you pay, but it really does help because it means I can do more projects in my garden. Hope you've enjoyed this. I can't wait for this to burst into life. It's the right time of year to do this, April going into May. And actually I remember last year I did this once at the start of the year, and I had 2 flushes of flowers, one midsummer and one early autumn, so I got 2 bites of the cherry and it was really wonderful. You can find that video on my channel if you want to see how this will turn out, but why don't you join me on this journey this year? Subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and there we go. Hope you've enjoyed that. I'll see you soon for some more wildflower gardening. Bye for now.